Thank you again for joining me on the Sutherland Report. Been a bit of a busy time, but that's because, as you may know, there is the rumour that on this side of the pond within the UK, we are having an election this year. We have to have an election by the end of January 2025. We don't know when it's going to be, but we know that it's coming. One of the wonderful things I'm doing at the moment is to meet incredible people, to interview incredible people that are standing as candidates for Reform UK. And I am about to bring on my friend Jason, who is standing for Runcorn and Helsby constituency as the prospective parliamentary candidate for Reform. So I'm just going to bring on Jason now. Jason, lovely to meet you via the digital medium. I'm having a lot of fun meeting all sorts of people. I'm going to punch us in, I think. I'll punch us in a bit. Okay. There we are. Ooh, there we are. Yeah. We look even, we can then see each other close up then. So Jason, let's start off with a bit of a geography lesson, and you can then say where we are within the UK. And as I love to say, let's put it in context, especially from people who may end up watching this abroad, as I do have quite a few followers in America. The whole of the UK fits into Texas 2.5 times, and we have a population of 68 million. That enables people to realize the geography challenges that we're having. So let's put up this UK map. So Jason, on there, I think, are you just below the city of Liverpool?
Yes, I think looking at that, we're just on the outskirts of the red dot.
Right. Okay.
To the south.
Brilliant. And then if I come down to a picture to show your constituency, there you go.
That's us. That's us in our entirety. So it's sort of based between Chester, Liverpool, Warrington. Covers about 70,000 people.
Right.
I'm on the banks of the Mersey.
Have there been boundary changes? Was at one point, was the constituency just Runcorn, or have there been boundary changes and mergers?
Yeah, it used to be Weaver Vale and up and towards Holton. And they've moved it over now. So basically, Runcorn is I would say, was the major conurbation centre, and that's merged into one. And Weaver Vale, where Frodsham, Helsby, and parts of Chester around there, that's not come into part of that Runcorn and Helsby constituency.
Right. So, Jason, you're a local man. Have you been living there for quite a while? Give us your background.
Yeah, well, I've lived here all my life, and I've born in Chester, which is the furthest west of the constituency. Then we moved over into Frodsham, which is about 1970s, with my parents. And that's, I'd say, central. And I've worked all my life in Runcorn, in Frodsham, Chester, in the area. So I'm more than a local lad. I'm born and bred here.
What is the history of the area in regard to manufacturing, in regard to heavy industry? Was the industry defined by being near Liverpool, port, water? What's the history there, sir?
Oh, that's going back a long way. I mean, in my living memory, we're going back to the 70s, 80s, when there was two major industries, if you like. We had ICI, which is the petrochemicals, which used to make all the paints. And that covers a lot of the south of Runcorn. And then going further west, you have the oil refineries of Stanlow, Castrol, which is all towards Ellesmere Port. And as such, a lot of the towns like Frodsham, Helsby and Runcorn grew because of those industries. And obviously they're still here in some form as well. So the area which was ICI is not so much now. But the factories are still there. And obviously the chemicals and the refineries are still in their full glory.
So Jason, what are the concern of your future constituency, of your future representation when you're out on the streets meeting people, knocking on doors, etc., etc. What are people concerned about in your area?
Well, it's varied. I mean, it's one of those curious constituencies where, if you look towards Runcorn, that's where the density of population is. So it's probably 45,000 people there out of the 70, and that's sort of what I would call town-centric issues. But the further you go west, you're going into very much dairy farming, arable farming. So you've got two sort of issues, really. You've got the townsfolk, then you've got Frodsham and Helsby, which are commuter towns, and then you've got rural areas. And they're all very different, are the issues. You're looking at Runcorn. I mean, it's been a massive decline since the 80s and 90s. You know, I was only commenting tonight to a few of the constituents. It's like walking through Beirut sometimes. You know, the shopping city's dilapidated, shops are closing, you know, which used to be vibrant areas where they had cinema complexes, things like that have just gone. And it's just literally empty shops, empty car parks. And as I'm a part-time driving instructor as well, it does work well for me sometimes. I can do all my training now. But no, it's quite depressing. Then the further you go out towards like Frodsham and Helsby, there's been a decline. The high streets have gone, and that's one of the big concerns. I mean, everyone's got concerns over potholes, the state of the roads, but it is really, really quite bad. And the further you go out towards Chester, they're in the smaller villages, say 2,000-3,000 people, and they're just sort of outcast into the forgotten about towns, well, villages really, and they're worried about encroachment of towns onto their greenery, if you like. You know, it used to be farmers' fields, and they're worried about the population explosion. So it's varied. It is varied. There is a similar vein running through all the areas though, and that's what I tend to pick up on is jobs for kids. You know, the kids coming through, the apprenticeship opportunities are just not there. I mean, I'm not saying they're not there, but they're not there for, you know, the majority of younger people. And then the travel, I hear many complaints about the travel in terms of the buses, the frequency of buses, where they're going. You know, one guy was telling me to get into work, he's on a bus ride for 45 minutes, he's going 7 miles, because it's the one bus which goes on a journey all round to almost every part of Runcorn. When we're actually looking at the surrounding towns of Ellesmere Port and Widnes, the contrast is unbelievable. You know, the investment they're having in sports centres, sports facilities, there's something to be looked at. Whereas Runcorn's completely without one. Frodsham's, I was very laughing with somebody, one of the constituents, the other day. The actual sports facility in Frodsham, we made in metalwork in the 1980s, and it's still there now, never been replaced. So yeah, so it's a state of decline.
Why the disparity in regard to the investment, Jason? Why the gap between the two?
Well, Widnes and Runcorn used to be half and half before the boundary change. So I think our previous incumbents put a lot of the investment onto the Widnes side, which was their decision at the time. But obviously it's now separated and Runcorn's its own area. I believe, and I've asked the council for this, for the information, but apparently they haven't got it, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it, is that a lot of the taxpayer money has gone out of areas like Frodsham and Helsby, and it's being invested into places like Ellesmere Port. And their issue is, oh, you can get the bus to Ellesmere Port and what have you. But many people can't. And so if you're looking at the sports complexes, people in Frodsham and Helsby don't tend to do a lot of swimming and things like that because it's an awkward place to get to. Helsby Port. It's not like 5 minutes down the road.
So you've laid out some of the differences, laid out some of the history. So the concerns over transport, potholes, which are national issues as well. What about the strain on GP surgeries? Is there enough hospital places, etc. on that side of things as well?
Well, GP surgeries is always going to be an issue. There's the way. I mean, they have improved, but you're still 30 or 40 in the queue. And this is one of the concerns we're having is the continuing to build new developments. Seeing one in Helsby just recently, X amount of homes, which we're very welcome for because it gives homes to the up and coming people. But they're not providing the new healthcare services, school places, etc., to go along with it. So it's going to be a greater strain, and they're already strained now. So with these extra 300-400 people moving in, it's going to be even worse.
So is there? So you've alluded to the shortage of housing, the stress on the housing stock, and the fact that more houses need to be built. Is that a fair point?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Right.
It's houses. If you speak to the people who have got, if you take it over to Runcorn, the guys some of the guys living in hostels looking for social housing to get out. Obviously, they've had a difficult time in the past at some point, and they're just not there. Or if they are there, they're being prioritised for other people. And we just need more social housing to get in for these types of people and for the kids starting off. There's a new development moving up into Uplands, which is a subsection of Runcorn. I know most people won't know where Uplands is, but it's one of these areas where it's been like apartments. I won't say terrace housing, but it's like block housing. And that's been knocked down. And to be fair, it's been regenerated. But the new houses coming in, there's not as many coming in as what's already there. So then you got additional housing problems now for all these people where they're moving to. And that's a whole new topic. But yeah, we haven't got enough houses for the people over here. One of the other big things we're looking for is retirement homes. If you look at our constituency, about 40% are approaching or over the age of retirement. And with people living longer, those houses, which are probably family homes, 3-bedroom houses, they've got nowhere to move on to. So therefore, those houses aren't coming up for sale. And that's putting a strain on it. So one of the things we do need is a greater influx of retirement villages. Right.
So all of that particular social pressure, you were describing the difference of investment with Port, with the lack of sports facilities or the sports facilities elsewhere. So if you were knocking on the door, you're knocking on the doorstep to introduce yourself to say, vote for me. Other than the subjects that have come up, what are any particular local issues? Are there enough parks, access to that, as you've already alluded to, leisure facilities? Is there anything specifically locally that is really disturbing people and they want the problem solved?
Yeah, well, the general concern, which you pick up from all areas, is the decline. So you're looking at what investment's coming in, where's the money coming from, where are the opportunities, and they're looking around the different parties, and you're looking at it and going, they can't deliver this. These haven't got the plan to re-energize the area. Just back 30 years ago, so the 1990s, where we had places like ICI, you had investment from those big industries, which was creating communities, creating the parks. If you look at the pavilions in Runcorn, which is like used to be a central hub for social like a social club for the ICI. It's just gone. And that's what people are looking at. And I think what's a big thing is they're becoming atomised as well. So people from South Runcorn are not going up to North Runcorn. People from Runcorn aren't particularly going to Frodsham or Helsby. So my plan is to bring those areas and identify places where this is your mantra. This is where you're going to be. So if you take like Runcorn Park, for example, lovely park, but it's just been neglected. So we're going to get that and get people wanting to go back there. Because you know yourself, if you've got a park, you're going to go to it, especially in the nice weather and all this. But they're just not, it's just a hole in the ground with a bit of grass. So that's, but then you compare that to like Victoria Park in Widnes. It's got lovely, I mean, it's a bone of contention for me, but it's got lovely fountains. You're seeing the families walking around, taking the dogs for a walk. It's a place to go, and it's not here. So the first part is to bring back the wealth into the community, which is going to create all those public services for the people. You know, you're looking at roadsides, keeping them well maintained, nice verges. You know, we're going around in the weeds, 2-3 foot high. You know, it's not encouraging people to stay there and become involved. And that's one of the big things which is coming out.
You're raising the issue of community cohesion, aren't you? Where certain other communities don't want to go to a particular area, or others do. Yeah. Is there you've talked about the pressure on housing. GP surgeries are always going to be an issue. But Jason, what is why have you reached this point where you are wishing to stand? You are standing as the PPC for Reform UK. What has been some of your journey politically?
Well, it's been quite a journey this last. I've only been in politics for about 18 months. It started it's about 18 months ago, and I ran for the local council in Frodsham. Joined the Reform Party, and I'm a Frodsham councillor, parish councillor. Yes. Joined the Reform Party mainly because they were just talking common sense. You know, it's, if you look at what the Tories have done and how they've betrayed us, look at the opposition, Labour. They're telling a lot of things which, yeah, it sounds great on face value, but in reality, it's not going to work. And the Tories just, Reform came up with a plan and a way forward, and I thought, well, that makes common sense. That's what I would do. And I was very fortunate in speaking with them, and it's been ever since then. And it's the actual journey itself, when you think about, because I was just nobody, I was just a guy in the street. But politics was whether it was on election day. And I realised if we don't do something, you know, it's going to be dire times. You know, the decline's going to go on. Things are going to get worse. And it was my wife actually that said, well, go and do something about it. And here we are.
What does the term levelling up mean to you? That has been a term that's been thrown around over the last few years. I wonder if you could explain that, because I am going to lead into another question afterwards. But what do you think? What do you think the government's plan was over the last few years when they talk about levelling up? And of course, Boris Johnson then winning the election in 2019. And then along with get Brexit done. So I'll come back to that in a minute. But what does levelling up mean? To
me, well, levelling up is, I know there's a north-south divide. Most of the infrastructure goes onto the south. My interpretation of it was that when we got levelled up, we would get the train services, the rail services, the road infrastructures that a lot of the counties further south benefit from. In terms of the actual, so levelling up on a personal issue, it was to bring us more in line with southern rates, southern services. So we'll all be more on an equal footing. I don't think we're anywhere near close, even equal to our neighbouring towns, never mind to those down south.
So you're acknowledging the regional divide. Do you think people feel where you are there in Runcorn and Helsby that there is a huge distance between them and Westminster and the decisions that are made there?
Oh, good grief, massive. I mean, from a personal perspective, I work in IT. So up until COVID, let's say the average IT guy was up here was on £40,000 a year. The average IT guy in London was on about £80,000 a year. And the only benefit from COVID to us from an IT perspective was suddenly everyone started home working. And when everybody was home working, the people on the south suddenly realised that everybody up north was cheaper. And we didn't need just to go down there. And then as a result, our salaries all increased because we're now entering a competitive market with the London developers and still remains. But everyone up here, they just know full well, if you want money, you've got to move down the south. And that's predominantly because the previous incumbents of Parliament who were supposed to be representing us haven't really chased and brought in the industries that demand higher salaries.
It's fascinating what you were saying about COVID and the lockdowns in regard to then looking at the IT specialists and what they were earning down south and what they're earning where you are. So you're just describing this gap, that this is how people feel. London, the south seems a long way off compared to where they are. What was the percentage of people that voted for Brexit, if at all, in your area in 2016? Do you know?
I think it was very close. I think don't quote me on the stats, but I think we are a leave area. And we were hoping for great things from Brexit. Doesn't actually happen, but well, I say a lie. It has happened in some respects, but not in the way we thought it was going to happen. But yeah, it was a leave area, but we're not that close with Europe over here. I mean, our closest ties were probably to Ireland,
right,
with just across the Irish Sea.
Yeah. So, Jason, we can round up in a minute, but the number one thing is to say, well, two things. One is, where can people reach you? And also to then say, is there anything else that you have left out that you want to say? So how can people find you? Where can they get hold of you?
Well, I shall tell you this. Obviously, I've got my own website, jasonmoorcroft.co.uk. I've left quite a lot out, actually. My vision, and this is my vision for the area, and I think people need an identity. We need to know where we're going. We don't all need to be doing the same thing and marching to the same destination, but we need to be walking together. My vision is to regenerate Runcorn back to where it was in the 1980s and 90s. Now, I can't go out and bring big industrial firms in with massive workforces as those days were. They're long gone, and there's no point looking back at it. But what I can do is, I've got considerable experience in IT and in new tech. And to bring just to give you a picture of this, if you look at IT and its or technology over the last 100 odd years, that's this, otherwise my IT is going to switch off. When I was talking to Menad, she's long gone now, God bless her, but she was born in the 1900s, and she used to tell me about the cars came after the horses, and then somebody down the road got a radio and they all used to swamp around it. Then somebody got a TV and they all swamped around it. So technology jumps in these little leaps. 1940s, you're looking at nuclear stuff, 1950s, 60s, space. And then in the coming to my era now, 1970s and the 1980s, personal computers came into the world. And then it was the internet, and you go through these little bumps and leaps, waves as we call them. And we're entering a new wave now, a new era. So it's AI, artificial intelligence. And obviously I do bits and pieces with that. And I can bring that tech into, and one of the things I want to create in Runcorn is for us to be the new Silicon Valley. Not as big as Silicon Valley, obviously, it's a bit wishful thinking, but be a tech hub where we've got innovation, got engineers, developers, and all that hub of new forward thinking into the new tech. And it's that embryonic at the moment. You know, you might, I know Rishi Sunak's mentioned it a few times, stealing my thunder, but this is where we've got to be, and it's an opportunity for us because we've got a blank canvas. It literally, there's that many empty offices, empty industrial units. We can bring this in, and from that you then spur off the coffee shops, you spur off new industries, events, you know, all sorts of things come off it. Take a look at Silicon Valley in America. That's probably the perfect example of that industry. And I want to reintroduce Frodsham into being a holiday spot, tourist, because we do have beautiful countryside here. You get outside the industry, beautiful countryside. We've got Delamere Forest, we've got historical walks like the Sandstone Trail, many things, and it's run down, and we need to make it like a tourist attraction. Now, we've got some great cities around us, Liverpool, Manchester. People love coming out into the country, and that's where, you know, I mean, we have started it. Got good businesses like in Cat and Horn, Haberforce, and Lady Hayes craft centres. Brilliant, lovely town to come to. But it needs investment, and that's where, by building up Runcorn, we can generate the wealth, which is going to then move over into Frodsham. And then we want to keep all the towns and villages which are out of the sticks exactly as they are. Farming communities. We don't need expanding beyond where they're up to at the moment. Just need to be well kept and maintain the green areas for green. And that's my vision. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's it.
Well, as Hosea says, you know, my people are destroyed. Well, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, but also it's without having a vision, you know, without having that vision. And you have a vision, and that's what's really, really important. And wanting to bring that knowledge back to regenerate, I think that is yeah, fantastic. You know.
Well, it is. You know, it's a nice area, nice people. You know, that's the best thing about this area is the people by a country mile, and they've been neglected. But we need a chance to get going, bring us all together, and I intend to do it.
So you are now, over the last 18 months, you're a councillor already. So you are out there already knocking on doors, engaging with people all the time. Is that right? And then, as I say, how can people then get hold of you? Where can they reach you?
The Reform website, I'm on there, jasonmoorcroft.co.uk. My numbers are on there, my personal numbers, personal email addresses. I am there. We're also going around community centres. We have open meetings. And if you want to, we have closed meetings. And if you want to come to one of those, more than welcome. We're advertised on Facebook, advertised on the website. So come along, or just drop me a line by email, and I'll respond to it.
How are those meetings advertised, Jason?
I say Facebook, word of mouth, and we get a good turnout, and it's and posters obviously in the community centres.
Brilliant. Jason, I just want to thank you for joining me. And as I say, I'll just repeat again, is there anything else that you want to say before we leave? It's been a delightful conversation.
Vote for me.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
No, I think do it. Vote for Jason Moorcroft. as we say, we don't know when the election will be. You are really getting geared up for it. And thank you for joining me. And I hope that we can do this again, because it'd just be brilliant to see people's progress and what is going on, and also to hear how your vision is going down with the meetings that you're having. So Jason, I'm just going to play us out, but thank you very much indeed.
No, thank you for having me on. Yeah.
No, not at all. Stay with me and I'll say goodbye over the other side, but thank you very much.
Thank you.